And welcome to a Thursday morning. You are inside the cave this morning. My name is Pat Hayes. Ian Went is with me this morning. Good morning, Ian.
Good morning, Pat.
How you doing today?
Oh, just handy dandy.
Give us a dog update.
He thinks it's cold, so going outside is not something he's a big fan of, but I think he's learning. He's understanding.
Doesn't want to do his job early in the morning, huh?
No, well, he did one of them before the show, so.
Okay, well, that's good.
Yeah. He'll take care of business after the show.
All right.
We'll make sure.
We sure hope so. All right, well, hey, let's get things started. We got a lot to talk about here today, so let's get right at it.
All right, we'll start with local bowling. Tecumseh High School varsity. They earned strong wins. They each moved to 3-0 in the SEC. The Tribe boys took down Jackson 27-3. The LCAA bowling action, Columbia Central edged out Onstad, a close one, 16-14. It was a monster game by Blissfield's Kelsey Wyman, triggered the Siena Heights women's basketball team to dominate at the Fieldhouse last night. Lady Saints beat Lords for the 19th straight time. The men's game scheduled between Siena and Lourdes was canceled. There's no rescheduled date at this time, but I'm sure they're trying to get that game in. Both the men and women, they're set to play Friday night at home against University of Northwest Ohio. We'll talk to Pat after the update to sort of break down the game last night because you were there.
I was there, and the men's game was canceled, or postponed, I should say, because of a COVID issue with Lourdes University. So
okay, so that something came out, and
yes, something came out with their testing, and Sue Siljevic said they're testing the heck out of people now. And actually, one of the ladies that does the testing was there at the game talking with Fred and telling him how many tests she's given so far, and it was up in the thousands.
Wow. Well, it's good they're being transparent.
That's
you don't
right.
have to
Yeah.
give things that would violate HIPAA or anything. You say, look, we got a COVID case or we have contact tracing, can't play. Boom. I like it. It's classy.
Yep.
And then you'll try to get the game in if you can.
That's right.
Adrian College baseball. I know it's a little cold to think about baseball, but they're receiving their second NCAA Division III preseason rankings. This time from Perfect Game. The Bulldogs check in at number 10 in the poll. They earned a number 11 spot in the American Baseball Coaches Association endorsed collegiate baseball newspaper poll released in December. So basically, they think they're pretty good this year.
We'll have to have Craig Rennie on here pretty soon to talk baseball.
That's right, as winter turns to spring. Adrian, only the only school representing the Michigan Intercollegiate Athletic Association in both national rankings. Highest ranking Mideast region program by Perfect Game. So expectations through the roof. They're normally pretty darn high for AC baseball, and they're going to defend the MIAA.
Yeah, how many years in a row have they?
I think they're at 11.
11. Wow.
11 straight.
Fantastic.
And we got some wrestling news. The Adrian College men, they advance one spot to number 18 in the first FlowWrestling.org regular season dual meet poll to mark the first time the Bulldogs have been nationally ranked twice in a season. They're just 2.5 shy of number 14, the highest ranked squad from the MIAA. In Flow Wrestling's preseason rankings, the Bulldogs were tied for 19th with 19 points. Junior heavyweight Isaiah Espinoza, a local product, he holds steady at number 4 at 285.
That's amazing. Only 2 or 3 years into the program here. That's great.
That's right. Yeah, we've had the wrestling coaches on.
Yeah.
Early in the show's infancy. But yeah, success on the mat as well. We go from the mat to the ice. 15 different players, they've scored at least one goal for Adrian College women's hockey. Here's Coach Sean Skelly telling us that it's been fun to watch, especially when it's rare for some of them.
You know, it was cool. We had two players kind of feel-good story. Olivia Flory, who's actually in her senior year, played for us, was supposed to play for us last year before ACL, goes out all year. In her third game, scored her first goal in our,
This is kind of
in our
long.
program, and she's actually, she's one of the only players to ever be called up from our ACHA program. We did that 2 summers ago, and yeah, it was unfortunate. She had a torn her ACL in our black and white game, inter-squad game last October, or actually 2 Octobers now, and it's taken like a year and a half to recover. I don't think the COVID pandemic did anything for her favor as far as rehab goes. But yeah, she's able to get back in the lineup now, and super excited for her. And it was just one of those times that the elation that was on her face after she scored, celebration, was something that I made sure to clip on video, and it's something that I hope everybody gets excited about.
Adrian College women's coach Sean Skelly, he was on the show yesterday. They have a league game at home Saturday at the Arrington against Trine to finally open league play. Kansas City, the Chiefs, head coach, the football team. They spoke to reporters about his team's Super Bowl matchup with Tampa Bay. Coach Andy Reid talked about this week's prep, how it compares to a year ago.
Listen, this is different because of this, what we're doing right now. And we're here in Kansas City because we're in Tampa. Last year we would have already been in Miami doing things, down there. But I don't think you have quite as many distractions as maybe what you'd have in a normal Super Bowl week when you're out of facility. But you still know it's there. You still know that there's a game ahead that is the Super Bowl, and you're able to focus on that part of it right a little bit better out of place.
And that was, of course, Coach Andy Reid for Kansas City. Let's go to men's college basketball. A tough night for top 5 teams as St. John's held third-ranked Villanova to 32% shooting as they beat the Wildcats 70-59 for the upset. East Carolina, they shock 5th-ranked Houston.
Wow.
82-73. Their first win against a ranked opponent in nearly 20 years. So, crazy stuff to be in the top 5 for college basketball. Of course, a team close by found itself high in the rankings, and they have been in a free fall. That would be Michigan State.
Boy, well, they played well, though, against Iowa the other night. And, boy, I thought they were going to win it, but, boy, the closing minutes of that game just went Iowa's way.
Yeah, Garza's a talent. Something else for Iowa.
Yep.
And we do have a final yesterday for the Red Wings. Their losing continues as they lose to the defending champs 5-1. Wings are now 2-7-2. Tampa Bay 6-1-1. That's it for my sports update. We'll do it again at 8.
One note also, we talked about local bowling. Adrian and Tecumseh will square off this afternoon at 3:30. That'll be over at 10 Pin Alley over in Tecumseh. So 3:30 start. No spectators, but of course we'll give you full coverage on that tomorrow.
And scrolling through Twitter from Adrian Maples Athletics to continue with the Maples. They'll be in the pool. They're taking on Dexter. Game day at 6 o'clock tonight in Dexter.
All right.
For the swimming.
And we invite any school, give us your schedule, give us your scores. We'll get it on the air here. We check our email every day. And if you'd like to send us your scores, just go to sports@965thecave.com. You can also see us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We are live this morning on YouTube.
That we are. Yep. go to Lenawee Broadcasting Company on YouTube. Find us there, Inside the Cave. Subscribe. It's easier, so when we go live, you can get the notification and climb inside the cave with us. And I will share the link on our Facebook and Twitter here in just a minute.
Okay. Program note this morning on the show at 7:25, we're going to have Adrian College women's basketball coach Kathy Morris with us discussing their game last night. 8:25 this morning, of course, we'll have John Borton from the Wolverine Magazine, our usual Thursday guest. And at 8:45 this morning, we'll have Kyle Lindsay, head basketball coach at Adrian College, talking about his game last night.
Yep, AC taking on the rival Albion last night.
Picked to win the MIAA this year again.
The men's team is.
Yes.
Women, I don't know. I mean, I know Hope is
they're
a
always
favorite.
Yeah.
They're
Hope
they're
and Calvin. And
Yep. Those schools over that way on the west side.
That's right.
But certainly an improvement for the men. They've played Albion twice now. Lost by 11 last night, but better than their 30-something point loss earlier this season. But I want to start across town. Let's travel to Siena Heights Drive for the Siena Heights Saints. Pat, you were on the call. There were supposed to be 2 games, but as we mentioned, one was canceled due to Lord's COVID issues. But fortunately, the women played, and they certainly did.
They did. They played well, and taking on a Lourdes Gray Wolves, and they won that contest going away 90-65. The Lady Saints got a little slow start in the first quarter. They had a lot of shots, but they missed a lot of shots, and they had some clear moving to the basket, and had a little bit trouble underneath. The difference between this game and the last game that I covered, the last game they were really going heavily to Peyton Banks, who was down low and just put up everything that came her way. But a little bit different story. Some of the other team members came about, and we had 3 players in double figures, led by local product Kelsey Weinman from Blissfield. She had 29 points. She was our D.S. Johnson and Associates Player of the Game. Also in double figures, 20 points for Peyton Banks. That's her average, I think.
I was going to say, even when she's not the target, she's still getting 20.
And, I mentioned this on the broadcast. That was her 20 quiet points over the course. It was just her regular game. 17 points for Allie Miner. Allie is a freshman, and she went to the same school as Peyton Banks down in Wadsworth, Ohio. So the two of them coming from a great school down there, obviously, and there are other of their teammates that are also playing in the NAIA as well. So they must have had a good basketball program down there. But one of the big statistics, Lady Saints shot 50% from the field, 57% from behind the arc, and 95% from the free throw line. You're not going to win a game against a team that shoots over 50%. It's crazy. But Lady Saints did well, and this was a first of a 3-game homestand. They'll be taking on University of Northwest Ohio on Friday, and then on Sunday they also have a game. I believe that is with a Detroit school. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but they will be home. And talking to Coach Soljevec, she was, of course, a little unhappy with some of the play, as all coaches are.
Right.
And one of the comments was made last night. They were really moving the ball up and down the court really quickly, more quickly than they normally do. So they were pushing the ball, and the other team, Lourdes. One of the things that Fred brought up last night at the broadcast was, Lourdes would come down, they make 2 passes and shoot the ball consistently through the whole game. It was really weird, but they weren't hitting their threes in the first part of the ball game, but they came back in the second half. They were hitting their threes. So anyway, it was a good game, and that's why the Saints probably will be up in the top echelon of the WAC conference at the end of the season.
Yeah, a team that you expect to beat based on past contests, and
Mm-hmm.
the team you gotta play. You gotta play the game. You can't sleepwalk because then you get upset. But good bounce back win after a tough one to
Yeah.
Indiana Tech.
Yeah, that was tough. 76-72. So, yeah, back on the winning ways, and I'm not sure you're going to see a Siena loss for a long time now.
Yeah, they're gonna get back into it, and you know, you said it off the air, but we'll give him some credit on the air. Fred Smith.
Yeah, great to have Fred back and broadcast with me last night. He certainly brings a lot to the broadcast. He knows the plays that they're running, and he can explain it very, very well on the air, and a lot better than I can.
Right, Pat, you watch the ball and
Yeah.
tell us what the ball is doing, and then I'll tell you everything else.
Well, it was funny because the toughest thing last night during the broadcast was picking out the numbers for Lourdes. They had uniforms. They're called terracotta and black. And you have a black number on a terracotta jersey. It is almost impossible to see, and we really had a lot of difficulty picking out the numbers.
Today's color of 96.5 The Cave is terracotta.
Terracotta. Do you know what color that is?
I'm looking up right now.
Well,
How do you spell it?
Teracota, I believe.
Terra.
It's two words.
Oh, it is.
Terracotta. Yep. So anyway, that's the color of the Gray Wolves from Lourdes University. Of course, they're just down the
Nope,
road in
that's the
Sylvania.
That's the wrong thing. I'm looking at pottery. Terracotta color. There we go.
Well, it's kind of like pottery.
Is it kind of that color?
That orangey type.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So they have that in black.
And black, yeah. It's almost like having white jerseys with white numbers with an outline around them.
Yeah.
Like a red outline around.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you can,
like
you can hardly
like
see
I had
those.
in Concordia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if people listen to the game, I actually said it. I'm like, look, I'm sorry if I get some of these names wrong. It's not me. It's the jersey, and
That's right.
and some of us struggle to see as it is, and then you give us a complicated jersey, and it's the road team. If it's Siena, they're wearing an alternate, you can say, okay, I know that's Peyton.
Sure.
I know that's Kelsey. I know that's this, that, the other thing.
And
But
of course, the other problem being, very conscious of COVID, we were way away from everyone else. We were down at one end of the gymnasium, or actually the activity center out there on the south side of the court. So we were quite a ways from the other end of the court. So usually we're right at center court, and there's no problem.
there were some fans, though, right?
Very
allowing
few.
some
Very
fans?
few. I think parents were in there. There wasn't more than 25 or 30 people in there, I don't think, at the time. So.
Did they have their pep band?
No.
Okay.
No, there was no pep band.
Oh.
And we even had trouble with the national anthem. It started,
You had to
stopped,
sing it?
it started, it stopped, it started, it stopped. After the third time, they just started clapping and let's play ball.
A buffering anthem is.
Yes.
It's tough.
Had a little trouble with the CD machine or something. I don't know.
It was on their phone.
I know, it was on their phone.
Yeah. It was buffering.
The sports information director was going crazy.
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, I had a quick funny story. Is I do public address for Adrian College when I can, and they got a little remote control flag that'll roll up and then roll down.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta roll it down before pregame stuff while they're warming up, and I was a little late to the show, so clock hit 0. Teams were lined up. I give the announcement. I go, all right, it's now time for the national anthem. If you can all please rise, and we'll honor America. And I'm still waiting for the flag. So I say that, and then we're standing there in silence for like a good 10 to 15 seconds, just watching the flag go slowly down, stopped, hit play. Couple laughs there, but
Hey.
it did not buffer. That's too bad. But to go back to the pep band, Concordia brought their band
Oh, did they?
into the gymnasium. So
Wow.
must be good for their
Be okay.
protocol, you know,
Yeah.
if they distance themselves and they're not over capacity.
Yeah.
Just thought that was interesting.
Interesting is right. Hey, we got to take a break here. It's about 20 minutes after the hour, and we're going to have Kathy Morris on with us here at 7:25. Don't go away. You're inside the cave.
We're Lenawee County tuned for sports. 96.5, The Cave.
And you are back inside the cave on this Thursday morning. Pat Hayes along with Ian Wendt this morning. And as promised, on the other end of our phone this morning, we have Kathy Morris, the head women's basketball coach at Adrian College. Good morning, Kathy.
Good morning.
Morning, Kathy.
Good morning. I
So-
almost had my first cup of coffee in me.
You almost do. Well, I don't blame you. It's pretty early.
Pretty early.
Yeah, it's almost too early for coffee for me. Like it's teetering on that.
Never.
Yeah, never.
Really.
That's your philosophy. Okay. All right, Coach, I need to start off with something that's kind of stuck with me every time I go there to work for public address for the team, or I'm there as a fan or broadcasting. That 29 years next to your name, that is not a typo, is it?
That's a question to start off with in the morning. No, it's not, unfortunately.
Wow. 20, I mean, that's...
I still feel like I'm 29 years young, so...
Well, that's the attitude. I mean, that's certainly a tenure at one school. Did you, I mean, when you first started, is that something you wanted to do? You can be honest. Did you see yourself doing this for 29 years?
No, I did not. You know, I was extremely young. I will say that when I started. There wasn't much age separation between myself and my players. And no, it was not something that I saw myself doing that long, but I do truly feel blessed to have the people I do around me, and Adrian College has been great.
Over 29 years, you've probably seen a lot of great basketball players come through Adrian College. Can you just pick out a few over those 29 years?
Yeah, we've had the Audrey Seymours, the Anita Stamp, Renee Hike, all are in our Hall of Fame. Some truly good athletes, but probably even better people.
Boy, we are really testing you early, Coach, with half a cup of coffee in you. I do appreciate it, and I'm glad you can answer those sort of legacy questions in terms of coaching. So we'll make it a little more focused now. Now that people understand your longevity there and all that. So this season, crazy year for everyone, but you are playing. It's been a goal of the teams and the administration there to play games and do it safely and do it right. So you guys get going at the beginning of November, and then you have a break, then you get into it in December. You schedule Transylvania, one of the top teams in the country, and kind of a tough start, not really in terms of results, but a schedule that was pretty ambitious, Coach.
Yeah, and I think, at the end of the day, the goal was to play, and we didn't care who it was. But in order to make that happen, certainly the college had to decide to do that. Our athletic training staff, our healthcare providers had to make sure that it was safe for everybody and how that we were going to abide by state rules, NCAA rules, and it was not easy. I honestly didn't know, even there at the beginning of November, if we were going to make it through the December. But with the rigorous testing that we've done, we kind of created two pods, two groups, for the what if we have somebody positive in one group, they have to shut down and be quarantined. And yeah, there were some games there early on that we didn't have our entire team, but we knew that it was important. The kids felt that it was important, so we plugged on through, and that's what we're doing right now. We're fighting a different opponent, and that's COVID.
Coach Kathy Morris of the Adrian College women's basketball team. Coach, to get to a couple players, and for this team and the team the last handful of years, you can't talk about the Lady Bulldogs without talking about Shatrice Graves, rebounding and blocking. That's sort of her thing. She's from Indianapolis, Indiana. Stands 5'11", every bit of it, Coach. What's it like to have a player like her? And, how did that sort of recruiting process go a handful of years ago to get her from Indianapolis to play here at Adrian?
I'm not gonna say it was easy, but I think once we got her up here to visit, everything else kind of fell into place because she was a criminal justice major. Knowing that we also had a master's program with that was a big attraction for her, and she's really established herself at the defensive end. Even last night, having one of the main players in our conference, and I believe she held her to 7 points last night. She just very, very athletic, very mature, followed the game plan to a T, and we will truly miss her next year.
Well, last night, of course, you played Albion, one of the top teams in the MIAA. You lost 57-42. Just looking at the box score of the game, it kind of faltered in the fourth quarter, only scoring 6 points to their 15. That might have been one of the major stories of that ball game.
Yeah, it's kind of back and forth in the first half, and unfortunately for us, we got ourselves into some early foul trouble with our post players, which certainly did not help us to deal with their height. And we tried to do a couple different things there in the second half, but the main thing is we can find a way to score. Credit that to Albion's defense.
Last night, I think Chelsea Palmer was your leading scorer. She had 10 points, and Graves held to only 5.
Yeah, definitely had a hard time getting the ball inside, but I liked what I saw last night. And I think, in the long run, unfortunately, we don't have a whole lot of games here coming up, but I think with our experience that we've had throughout November, December, it's going to hopefully pay off for us.
That's right. 3-7 on the season. You are 3-1 at home. Some tough road contests, but again, scheduling tougher opponents in terms of the Bluftons and the Transylvanias of the world on the road. Looking at your team, Coach, is there something that they do in particular that you like heading into conference play?
They're gritty. This is probably one of the better groups that I've had defensively. We're holding people where we should be. It's just we're going to have to find a way to put the ball through the hoop. But they work well together, and they're fun to watch.
And I guess the easiest follow-up question would be, Coach Morris, is what's something that you think your team can work on? And I think you may have alluded to it. It's scoring points.
And confidence. Every girl that steps on the floor is able to put the ball through the hoop, and they just, shooters got to shoot, and I think helping share the ball a little bit more will help us making that extra pass, but it's confidence. You've got to be able to be on the road and be able to feel like you're at home.
Well, your next couple of games are at home. You've got Alma coming up on February the 6th. That'll be a 3 o'clock tip. And then you play Calvin at home on the 9th, 7:30. Can you give us a little outlook on those two teams coming up?
Yeah, both will be interesting matchups. I think that both teams match up well. Alma's not quite as deep as what we are, but are certainly able to score a lot of points. But I said that same thing about Albion too, and about Shrine last week. Our defense has to be there, and eventually, the offensive end will come for us.
Do you think, obviously COVID has had a lot of, probably on how you practice and how you play games, and if you're going to be playing games, it really has to be unsettling to maybe not know from from one game to the next if it's actually going to happen.
Yeah, it's true. It's a different world. There's some days where we come and go, and testing days, yeah, we can blend ourselves together, but there's 3-4 days out of the week that we can't do that. So they're in their pods, and we're limited, as to what we can do. A lot more fundamentals in practice, and I think yes, in the long run, it does affect team unity a little bit. We kind of have to watch who's in what pods for the what if. We shut one group down to make sure that we're balanced out, because our goal is to play. We don't care who we have, when it is, we're going to play. But in the long run, though, too, I think hopefully at some point in time we can get over this COVID thing, and it's been a great experience for some of our younger kids. And I feel very, very grateful that we are playing and that we're not sitting.
Adrian College women's basketball coach Kathy Morris joining us inside the cave. Conference play starts on the 9th for you guys. It's a pretty simple, straightforward schedule. You play a handful of games. It's 7 to be exact, and I assume it's the same as the men, where you're all making the conference tournament, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we got the disappointing news yesterday that they canceled all the NCAA championships. So.
Oh no.
That was kind of heartbreaking, but we'll keep moving forward.
Well, that's news to me. Did that just break last night and I missed it?
It did.
So D1 through D3, or they just canceled the D3?
No, right now it's just Division III winter championship.
Oh,
wow.
Whoa. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't check social media this morning, so that's my bad, being the sports guy, but that's tough.
All right.
How
that really probably kind of puts a damper on things going forward here with no championship to play for.
Yeah, we'll just focus on our conference. We've always known that we've had one of the better conferences in the nation, women's basketball-wise, and to be a part of that elite, we want to be there in that final game.
Well, that just put a huge damper on my morning, Coach.
I'm sorry. Go get that cup of coffee.
Yeah, I know. Get a cup of coffee, open your phone, and see what's going on. So I guess moving forward now, motivation is probably something that'll have to come from the bench, and I think it has all year with no fans or limited fans. What's the message to the team going to be when you go to practice, either today or tomorrow?
As it has been, it's been a roller coaster last few months. I feel like that we've maintained a steady pace though, and we'll just continue to move on. Be thankful that we're playing and we had this opportunity, and we'll take it from there. We got to have some fun with this. The kids need this.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. Kathy, we want to thank you for being our guest this morning here on Inside the Cave. And of course, we wish you the best of luck, and all the Lady Bulldogs the rest of the way of the season. And sorry to hear about no tournament play for D3. And just the best of luck to you and the rest of the team.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, that was Kathy Morris from Adrian College, women's basketball coach. We got to take a break here. It's about 20 minutes before the hour. You're Inside the Cave this morning with Ian Went, yours truly, Pat Hayes.
We're not just fair weather fans. It's the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Whoa! Gross!
Hey, it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
Talking about the NCAA Division III announcement that we just heard from Kathy Morris. It happened about 8 hours ago. We're just finding out about it now, but all Division III championships have been canceled.
Yeah, and I don't know if angry is the word. It may seem like anger, disappointment, maybe frustration about the timing of this thing. Like, you're just kicking off the conference play for these sports.
Kind of a kick in the teeth, isn't it?
Yeah, and for the winter sports that had their championships cut short last year, it's going to happen again. So let me read this. This was actually published at about 7 o'clock last night, so a little more than 7-8 hours ago. It says, due to low participation numbers among member schools, NCAA Division III Winter Championships are canceled for the 2020-21 academic year. The Division III Administrative Committee, acting on behalf of the Division III Management and President's Council, approved the recommendation from the Division III Championships Committee to cancel all winter championships. They have been closely monitoring and discussing the membership's winter sports participation for several months. It has been providing updates to the councils. So I'm paraphrasing now, they've been looking at the winter declaration form distributed to members about their intention to compete this season and in a capacity that would permit them to meet the minimum contest requirements to be eligible for championship selection by the committee. 98% completed that. So kind of here's, and you can find this at ncaa.org, ncaa.org for Division III. They have a chart up there for basketball, wrestling, hockey, and it tells you how many schools there are, who voted yes, who voted no.
There must be a lot of schools that opted out of winter sports.
Yes. So the no's, in terms of they're going to play enough, we're all over 50% except for looks like men's hockey was majority yes, 52% to 47, 48 we'll round it up, and wrestling was overwhelmingly yes. It was 62% to 38%, but the rest hovering right around 52 to 58% not in favor. Oh, women's hockey also was yes votes, 51 to 49%. So extremely divided.
Could have gone either way.
But NCAA D3, they say not enough. We will cancel the championships. Now, if they put this survey out early on, that's the indication, and they got these numbers back, why are you coming out with this now? Like, why is this news on February 3rd?
Yeah,
why wouldn't this be news in December or January?
Has there been an uptick in COVID cases as far as colleges and universities are concerned?
I don't know.
We haven't heard of any real uptick.
No,
Matter
and
of fact,
look,
around here we seem to be coming back down.
89% of all the cases that have had COVID in Lenawee, now this is a very small sample size, are recovered. 9% they say are active cases. So that leaves the other percentage points to hospitalized or unfortunately deaths, because they're still counted as a case. I assume that mirrors most of the country. I'm assuming that at this point we're at well more recovered than not. But to get back to the athletes here, and every time we talk to Coach Skelly on Wednesday, he's going to get a test. He's going to get tested. His team is getting tested. All these teams, Coach Morris's team, Coach Lindsay, who we're going to talk to later, Coach Krug with the men's hockey team, they're putting in the work. They wanted to play. The administration put the money, the time, the resources into doing this for that ultimate goal of we're going to play for a championship and we're going to do it safely. There have been strict protocols. They've had games canceled, postponed, but just to have the plug pulled now.
From an economic standpoint, they've invested a lot of money in this testing, and wow, it's just kind of a slap in the face almost.
Yeah, and I don't know if there will be legal challenges from these schools, but
Reconsideration, I mean,
yeah,
it's
people have reversed courses during this whole thing.
No.
The Big Ten was
Big
not going to
Ten.
play football.
they're
Look, we're not
the
going to do this thing.
brainchild of reversing.
Yeah, we're not talking about it again. We are not playing football. Okay, we're talking about football. Oh, we're going to play. Oh, we're going to bend the rules for Ohio State.
Yeah.
And then you have the football season. There was a threshold established at 60% for men and women's basketball, swimming, diving, and indoor track and field. 70% threshold for hockey and wrestling. I assume because there are significantly less schools that they wanted to
Sure.
up that number. But you can check all this out at ncaa.org for the Division III championships. They have been canceled for the winter, as Coach Morris alluded to. So that affects Adrian College.
No Frozen Four.
And the other MIAA schools, you know, if you're a fan of those schools, they will not have a winter championship. They'll have the conference championship.
Yeah.
And that'll be it. So,
Man.
I guess if you're going to look at the little glimmer of light is that you know now.
Yeah.
And it's not like, okay, we're going to play the conference tournaments and then we're going to cancel.
How do you, our listeners, think about this cancellation of Division III championships? We'd like to hear what you have to say. You're very important to us, and we only got a couple of minutes left here before we have to take a break, but I'm sure we're going to be talking a little bit more about this after the break, because Ian's
I don't think we're quite done.
Ian's face is really red right now and ready to blow steam here. So
Well, you can see it if you're watching on the stream. I have questions.
Yes, you do. I know you do.
And I'm not a player. I don't have a kid that's playing, and I'm not a coach. Okay? I'm a D3 school alum, I'll say that, and a sports broadcaster, and a guy that's been close to these teams, and they've been on the air, we've been talking about it.
Yeah.
You know, getting these kids ready to play, these teams in position for a chance to do something they couldn't do last March or February.
Yeah.
And that was play for a NCAA D3 championship. But, you know, the focus has to switch. Just win the conference. And that'll be your sort of consolation prize in the scheme of things, will be to get that done. So.
All right, we'll be talking more about it, and you can call us at 517-265-4000. You can email us, sports@965thecave.com. We are on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We are live this morning on YouTube. Don't go away. Next hour, we're going to have John Borton at 8:25 talking about Michigan sports with draft day yesterday, and we also have Kyle
Draft
Lindsay.
day?
Well, signing day, like
Collegiate draft.
Yeah.
All right. I knew what you meant. We all did.
8:45. We have Kyle Lindsay, head basketball coach at Adrian College. We'll be talking to him, I'm sure, about the championships too. Don't go away. We'll be right back. You're inside the cave.
Inside the Cave.
Where we going,
96.5 FM.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Inside the Cave. Yours truly, Pat Hayes, along with Ian Went this morning. We are talking sports, and just a program update. We'll be talking with John Borton at 8:25 this morning, talking about Michigan sports. Of course, signing day, official signing day was yesterday, and some top news there. At 8:45 this morning, we'll be talking with Kyle Lindsay, head basketball coach at Adrian College. We will get his insight on the cancellation of D3 sports. And but right now, we have an angry Ian Went with our sports update.
Now for an Inside the Cave sports update.
Well, you're disappointed.
Yes, Pat. I'm disappointed, and you have to question things.
Yes.
I'm questioning it. You know, the timing of it. I don't have to cancel one of these interviews so we can keep talking about it, but that's raw emotion. That's what radio is all about, and we learned about it on the phone with Coach Morris. That came out last night. It is what it is. Just like everything else, we'll move on, and I'll move on for the sports update.
Let's do this.
Now for an Inside the Cave sports update.
For the second time.
That was a perfect. I was going to ask you to do that, play the thing again. All right, here we go. High school bowling. Tecumseh, they earned a couple wins. They each moved to 3-0, their boys and girls. 3-0 in the SEC. They took down Jackson 27-3. That was the boys. In LCAA, close one for Columbia Central and Onsted. Wildcats fall 16-14. It was a monster game by Blissfield's Kelsey Wyman. She triggered the Saints basketball team over at Siena to dominate at the field house. Lady Saints beat Lords for the 19th straight time. The men's basketball game canceled, or postponed I should say, against Lords, a COVID-related issue for Lords. No rescheduled date at this time. Both men and women are set to play Friday night at home with the University of Northwest Ohio.
Isn't that an amazing stat? 19-0 against a team you've never beat and never lost to them?
I've only seen that one other time in my tenure here. AC men's hockey, I think it's Concordia, Wisconsin, that they've never lost to.
Okay.
I'll have to double check. But there's a team that they have not lost to. Might be Trine also. But one of those teams, it's a crazy number. But anyway, yeah. To do that in college where you're recycling players every 4 years.
Yeah, that is tough.
Something else. AC baseball, they are receiving their second NCAA D3 preseason national ranking. This time from Perfect Game, they have them at number 10. Another poll had them at 11 back in December. Adrian, the only school representing the MIAA in both national rankings. It's the highest ranked Mid-East region program by Perfect Game. So expectations there for the Bulldog baseball team. On the mat, AC, they move up to number 18 in the flowwrestling.org regular season ranking. AC received 22.5 points. That's only 2.5 shy of the 14th spot, so very tight there in the teens. It's the highest ranked squad from the MIAA. Bulldogs were tied for 19th in the preseason ranking, so they move up one spot. One of the highlights, one of the players that's dominating junior heavyweight, Isaiah Espinoza from Adrian High School. He holds steady at number 4 in the 285-pound class. 15 different players, they've scored a goal for the Adrian College women's hockey team. Coach Sean Skelly tells us that it's been fun to watch, especially when it's rare for some of them.
You know, it was cool. We their college career this weekend. One was Callie Wolfswager, freshman, and then a kind of feel good story. Olivia Fleury, who's actually in her senior year, played for us. Was supposed to play for us last year, but tore ACL. Goes out all year. In her third game, scored her first goal in our being at our program, and she's one of the only players to ever be called up from our ACHA program. We did that 2 summers ago, and yeah, it was unfortunate. She had a torn her ACL in our black and white game, inter-squad game last October, or actually 2 Octobers now. And it's taken, like a year and a half to recover. I don't think the COVID pandemic did anything for her favor as far as rehab goes. But yeah, she's able to get back in the lineup now, and super excited for her. And it was just one of those times that the elation that was on her face after she scored. The celebration, was something that I made sure to clip on video, and something that I hope everybody gets excited about.
AC women's hockey coach Sean Skelly, they enter league play this Saturday at the Arrington, 7 o'clock against Trine. They have a limited capacity for in the stands to 100, and if the WOW Cafe and Wingery is open, there will be the protocols for indoor dining there as well. We go to the Super Bowl matchup between the Chiefs and the Bucks. KC coach Andy Reid talking to reporters about this team's prep week, how it compares to a year ago.
Listen, this is different because of this, what we're doing right now. And we're here in Kansas City as opposed to being in Tampa. Last year we would have already been in Miami doing our thing, so down there. But I don't think you have quite as many distractions as maybe what you'd have in a normal Super Bowl week when you're out of facility. But you still know it's there. You still know that there's a game ahead that is the Super Bowl, and you're able to focus on that part of it quite a little bit better, I would probably say.
And the Super Bowl can be heard here on The Cave, 96.5 FM, 965thecave.com. We have a hockey score for the Detroit Red Wings. They took on the defending champs yesterday and played like it. Champs win. That would be Tampa Bay 5-1 over the Red Wings, who dropped to 2-7-2. Tampa Bay 6-1-1 on the season. And finally, the news that broke late last night, or for some it's late, 7 o'clock. The NCAA Division III, they've canceled their 2021 Winter Championships, citing a low participation number, so no Winter Championships for Division III. That will do it for our sports update. Tune in weekdays at 7 a.m. and 8 a.m. for the latest in local, state, and national sports. So I'm Ian Wentz, and here you go. That's it.
That's
a lot
it.
of stuff there.
Good
variety.
Great
Bowling
variety.
in there. Pat, I want to get to your research that you did for bowling. Didn't you have something you wanted to educate me and some of our listeners on?
Well, we talked about this on Tuesday, John and I did, and talking about the system that high schools use for their games. They're called Baker games. And there's actually 2 sets of games. You're talking about individuals, and they're talking about team. So the Baker game, as far as scoring is concerned, there's 4 points per game. There are 2 points for total pins, for a total of 10 points max. Okay, that is the Baker game. That's a individuals. And then you have your team games. You play 2 games there, and the winner of a bowler versus bowler earns 1 point per game. Winner of each team game earns 4 points, And a series winner of team game 1 and 2 earns 2 points, a maximum of 20 points in that format. So putting it all together, there's a total of 30 points that you could win. And we have seen some teams in the last several weeks that have won 30 to nothing. So it's not necessarily just individuals, it's also a team score that comes in. It's very, I think, very fair system to do, because you could have some high scores there and not really win the points. So
Right, yeah, so you could go up against someone where you
Mhm.
both bowl in the 240s.
Yep,
You lose, but your pins count for something.
exactly.
Well, that's cool.
So yeah, we learned that from actually the Adrian High School coach, Coach Phillips, sent that along to us, and
A Baker game.
Baker game. That's what they call it, Baker games, and that's the scoring system. And it was.
Do you need like oven mitts or anything? Or
No. I let me go back here. I've got a text.
eggs and flour? No?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have I have a text here, and talking about the history.
Stay tuned while Pat scrolls his phone.
Yeah, scroll my phone. Well, I can't find it offhand here. I'm not
I mean,
gonna-
you can look it up, right? History of
Sure. Well,
Baker
here it is.
games.
Okay,
Oh,
it's
okay.
Frank Baker from the American Bowling Congress developed the Baker point system back in the 1950s. And high school formats are normally 2 Baker games and 2 additional regular team games. A Baker game is made up of 5 team bowlers. The lead bowler bowls the first and 6th frame. Second bowler has the 2nd and 7th, and so on and so forth.
Oh, so you alternate those.
You alternate, yeah.
Oh.
And
So it's
then,
really a team
yes,
bowl.
yep. So,
Huh.
we were talking, about strategy, and, you probably want to have your best bowler bowling last in the sequence, because you want them to bowl the 10th frame, where you could possibly, get 3 strikes in a row and maybe change the course of the game. So, some strategy involved there too.
That's a little fun fact for
Yeah.
those of us not versed in high school bowling.
Mm-hmm.
How they get these totals of Tecumseh beat Jackson 27-3.
Right.
Well, they couldn't. There can't be any more points. There's only 30 to
30
give
total,
out.
yep.
So
So the
they-
score should equal 30.
yes, the Columbia Central Onstead game. That's about as close. I mean, that's as close as it gets. 16-14.
Right.
Because I don't think they would have a tie. It'd be extremely difficult to tie. There's a lot
That's a
of
good question.
tiebreakers.
That's a good question. Yeah, sure. I'm sure there are tiebreakers, I think,
Yeah.
based on total pins.
So, cool. Well, that's
Yeah.
a little
Yeah,
little
little
bowling lesson for us on a
information there. Yeah.
Thursday morning.
We've got some other business to take care of too. We have to talk about our lock of the week coming up.
Yes, we got some teams to consider. Jokingly, the team that plays Michigan State is in consideration, whoever that may be for men's basketball, as they've lost to 4 straight.
Yeah,
But we're not going to go there. We're going to go local and pick one of those locks. But we'll have that coming up in a few minutes. We broke the news yesterday here on the show. John Roberts and I did that. It is official. There is a weekend show for Inside the Cave, and it's going to start on Sunday, and it's going to start Super Bowl Sunday with across the way, Pat Hayes and Jeff Bowman. They will debut it. It's going to be at ZZ's in Adrian. That's over on College Avenue.
Yep.
With Lenawee Rec. They're in the same building.
Mm-hmm.
But that'll be 11 a.m. till 1. ZZ's opens at noon.
Correct.
So stop by and see Pat and Jeff. Have some good conversation. But I assume you guys are going to talk about the Super Bowl, right? I mean,
that's the main focus. Yeah, the Super Bowl coming up, of course, that day, and of course you can hear the game right here on 96.5 The Cave. But yeah, we'll be talking everything Super Bowl, of course. It'll be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes up against my man Tom Brady. I promise I won't be too biased.
Yeah, are you wearing a Michigan sweater today
I
or a
am
cave
not.
sweater?
I've got my cave sweater on here.
Well, that's real
I'm
nice.
impartial today, but maybe not on Sunday.
Yeah, you might be wearing something different on Sunday.
Yeah.
So yeah, stop by Zzz's.
Yeah,
That's where you're going to be.
It's gonna be a lot of
Sunday.
fun.
Yep.
And so yeah, come on in.
Food, drinks,
Yep, they of
radio.
course have seating. 25% capacity now, and of course they have the bowling has been open, and so you can bowl a few frames and maybe play a couple Baker games.
There we go. Yeah, play some bakery games. Sound real smart when you go up to the counter and pay.
Yeah, I played a Baker game.
Yeah, pretty good in the Baker game today. Yeah, but yeah, fun stuff. That's the name to be determined, but it's either like Inside the Cave Weekend Edition or Inside the Cave Sunday Show, whatever we come up with. Regardless, it'll be 11 a.m. till 1. If you can't make it, it'll be right here where we're talking on 96.5 FM and on 965thecave.com. A big thank you to Zzz's for being one of the hosts for this Sunday program.
We should have our listeners name our program. We should put
Oh
it out there.
God, no, no.
The Cave
No.
Dwellers on Remote or something like that.
No, we can't say on the air what they would name the show.
That's true.
Two
right.
dumb bleeps.
Yeah, there you go. All right, shall we get right into our lock of the week?
Sure, do you have something to read for us?
We've got this week's lock of the weekend being brought to you by Adrian Locksmith. Let's be honest, you couldn't pick your nose if it wasn't attached to your face.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine you're any good at picking games. So we're going to do it for you with the help of Adrian Locksmith. Of course, they have been serving Lenawee County and the surrounding areas for over 20 years. Adrian Locksmith is located at the corner of North Main and Maple Avenue, right here in Adrian. We'll be back with our lock of the week after this.
Hi, this is Nick. Do you want to check or change the security on your
Okay, our time for our lock of the weekend, and who are we going to have this weekend, Ian?
We are going to go to the ice for the Bulldogs. Adrian College men and women, the NCAA teams, taking on a couple of conference opponents as they begin their quest for the defense of the NCHA championships. The men will take on MSOE, Milwaukee School of Engineering, Friday night and Saturday afternoon, both over in Milwaukee. And the women will play Trine on Saturday. So we're going to lock Bulldog hockey for this weekend.
All right, they're on ice for us. Lock of the weekend. And of course, our lock of the weekend being brought to you by Adrian Locksmith. Security is their business. Adrian Locksmith is at 402 North Main Street in Adrian. Call them at 517-263-1415 or check them out on Facebook. And thanks to Nick once again for sponsoring our lock of the weekend. And that's going to about do it for this segment. We have to take a break here for a couple of messages, and we'll be back with John Borton from the Wolverine Magazine right after these words. You're inside the cave this morning. Ian Went, Pat Hayes.
The big names.
staff, and he just announced yesterday that he in fact is going to be a Wolverine, shocked Spartan Nation, and made Michigan very, very happy because what have we been talking about? What is one of Michigan's greatest needs at this point? Bigger, stronger defensive tackles, and Rayshon Benny was a part of a trio of defensive linemen that came in late in the game, and all of a sudden makes Michigan's entire class look a whole lot better. It was good as it was, and now it's pushing the line. It cracks into the top 10 nationally.
Well, I think Michigan did a pretty good job this year with position players, just about every segment, from the offensive, defensive line to a quarterback, defensive backs. I think they've done a pretty good job, John.
No question. I mean, the big hole in that was interior defensive line, Pat. And that was the one criticism that this was drawing after the first round of signings in December. And they really, really addressed that in this latest version of the class. You're right, though. They covered a number of areas. J.J. McCarthy is one of the top quarterbacks in the nation. He spent last year at IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. He's 6'2", some say 6'3", 195 pounds. And he has the kind of talent that has some people speculating maybe he could step in as a true freshman and lead this team. We'll see about that. He's in Ann Arbor along with a number of others of this class. Came in early, and I actually spent about a half an hour last night on the phone with his dad, who they're all from the state of Illinois, and it's a great conversation with regard to this young man. He's a real leader and the kind of individual that attracts others, and he was a stalwart in this class in terms of not only staying true to Michigan when things were looking a little shaky down in Schembeckler Hall and things were in doubt. We didn't know exactly how things were going to come out with Jim Harbaugh himself, but also attracting others to come to Michigan in this class.
John, didn't I hear something, maybe I've read this in the Wolverine Magazine, about J.J. McCarthy. Wasn't he originally scheduled to go to Ohio State?
Well, there were a lot of people that were very interested in him. But, you know, he could have gone, Pat, just about anywhere he wanted. But he really fell in love with Michigan. And, you know, he liked Jim Harbaugh and his staff. He liked the entire idea of playing in the big house in front of that many fans. You know, certainly the Buckeyes are a consideration when you're thinking about going to a Big Ten school and you're from the Midwest. But this is a young man that wound up making the call to go to Michigan and never really looked back. I mean, he committed all the way back in May of 2019. So it certainly wasn't a last minute call on his part.
Good morning, John. Ian Wentz here. Hey, so you know the big news, and I'm glad Pat kind of led off with it, is the decommit from Rayshon Benny. You know, it's a rival school. You know, you decommit one place and you commit with the other. Do you think part of it could be that, you know, Michigan is in a better spot and he realizes, look, all they need is a guy like me, and we can compete for the Big Ten, and, you know, I might like Coach Tucker and whatever's going on at State, but they're a long ways away, and I can win sooner rather than later at Michigan?
Yeah, and here's the weird thing, Ian. I mean, Michigan State beat Michigan on the field last year in Michigan's own stadium. So they kind of have that trump card to play. They look at what Michigan's doing, but I think the optimistic view is you look at what happened with the Wolverines this past fall as an aberration. You had a year that got messed up by COVID. You had opt-outs, you had injuries, you had a lot of things going wrong, and that game beaten by a bad Michigan State team and a worse Michigan team, as it turned out, was just one of those things. But I think when you're taking a look at the long-term arc of the program, Rayshon Benny not only decided his best bet was Michigan, but also, the relationships that he had developed. I mentioned the one with Sean Nua, but there are a number of this is big changes on this defensive staff. If you take a strong look at it, including the defensive coordinator, Don Brown wasn't crazy about really huge defensive tackles in the middle, and Rayshon Benny at 6'5" and 270 right now, he has the capacity to put on another 20, 30 pounds. He could be a stalwart in the middle, and I think they made that clear to him once some of the recruiting priorities and what they were looking at in the middle of that Michigan defensive line changed a bit.
Are we going to expect? I think we've talked about this a little bit before, John, but with this excellent recruiting class, do you kind of expect it to sort of plug in and play? I know the defense will have to change up some things, but Pat talked about it. It's a very strong class, second highest in the Big Ten, right? You got Ohio State up there at 2 or 4, whenever they are, and then you have Michigan. I mean, is it a crazy expectation to have expectations?
Well, I think you always have expectations if you're Michigan, and what you're looking for here is a big and quick bounce back from what I mentioned was a lot of people are viewing as an aberration of a season. Now, what's not an aberration is the fact that you haven't consistently beat Ohio State in a long time, or beaten them at all. So that is the hurdle from good to great. But you're looking to at least get back to good in the early part of next season and try to build towards where you go into that Ohio State game with a shot to take down the Buckeyes. But those are first steps, and I think you can do that by putting together a defense that can play against anybody, that can stand strong against the Wisconsins of the world, and yet run with the Ohio States, and continue to dominate lesser teams like Michigan did under the former defensive coordinator. And you're looking at an offense that needs to take steps forward as well. First of all, deciding on a quarterback, shoring up the offensive line, and having a more consistent running attack. I think those things are possible. There's plenty of talent on hand. It benefited greatly from this class, but now, to your question, there are definitely reasons for expectation, for hoping for better things and quickly, but it all has to come together, and we have to see how all these changes to the staff are going to mesh and work with the talent that's there.
Well, there was another flip too. Michigan flipped a Colorado commit. That was Ike Iwuna. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but that was led by defensive line coach Sean Nua.
Absolutely, it was, and he is another. I mean, you want to talk about big defensive tackles?
Oh, 6'4", 275.
Yeah, and well, Rivals' latest ranking on him or measurables has him at actually 290 pounds, and so this is a high school kid that is coming in with a big upside. He's not rated as highly as Rayshon Benny or George Rooks, the third guy that we've talked about before, who comes in at 6'4", 260. But the new kid out of Garland, Texas, has all kinds of potential. And you mentioned Sean Nua. Nua is a guy that hasn't been known as Michigan's greatest recruiter by any means, but he's starting to get some help in that area. He's very personable. He's great with the guys when they're landed, but he hasn't been the guy that goes out and really draws people in. But the way this staff is configured now, I think it is stronger in terms of actually being able to bring people in. And while we give credit to Nua in this situation, don't forget about Maurice Lindquist, the new defensive backs coach and co-defensive coordinator, who has very, very deep roots in Texas. This is one connection that already paid off in this situation, and I think you're going to see more of that as you go forward. And as far as the local guys, you're talking about Mike Hart and Ron Bellamy, a couple of former Michigan players who are now back coaching. They have a lot to do with some of this talent coming in as well.
John Borton with Wolverine Magazine joining us here on the show today. I know you are around the D1 schools of the world, but down here in Adrian, we got a D3 school at Adrian College, and they've been impacted now by a second cancellation of winners championships for the NCAA. D3, what have you read about that, if anything, or are you getting a pulse of what's going on with that?
Well, I just think it's more very inconsistent decision making, because you see some of these, you see D3 going out, you see D1 and D2 going forward, and well, what's the difference? What's the science difference? And quite frankly, I think D1 is going forward because of dollar signs and the recognition that I have mentioned before that these are young men and women who are 18 to 22 in the prime condition of their lives. They, the science says they have a very, very small chance of being impacted in a significant way, or in a way that puts them in serious physical jeopardy. And I mean, we get right back to Michigan basketball, both men's and women's. There's a couple of frustrated teams.
Mm-hmm.
They're out of action right now, and they've had nobody test positive. So again, you've seen people all over the board with this, and you have government stepping in as well as individual programs, and there's no consistency to it. But I will be glad, along with everybody else, when this is well in the rearview mirror.
Yeah, the website, in their fairness on ncaa.org, they cited member schools basically opting out, and there was a threshold they had to meet in order to do that. Any thoughts on that? That they put a percentage point on it, and a certain percent of you have to say yes for us to do it. I mean, it's not. You do make a little money off of it, I'm sure, if you're the NCAA, but I have more questions about it in terms of participation.
Yeah, I understand, and everybody's trying to make the rules and trying to deal with this in the way they think is best. It's hard to criticize too much, but I fail to see any sort of consistent approach when it comes to this, and I'm not as tied in anymore at the D3 level, but I'm sure that they're doing what they feel is best. I mean, there's no question it's a serious virus. There's no question that there are other people around, whether it's fans, whether it's coaches, that could be affected more seriously by this. But as far as the participants themselves, I am all on the side of a lot of people have done this with considerable safety. I say let them play until they prove that you've had an outbreak and you've had a reason to shut everything down.
John, we are out of time here, but I'd like to tell folks how they can subscribe to the Wolverine Magazine. I got my my February edition right after we got off the air last week. Some great articles in there.
I appreciate it. You'll like the next one, Pat, because we'll have J.J. McCarthy and Junior Colson, the linebacker that Michigan's bringing in, on the cover. It's all about breaking down this class, and hopefully by before too long, we'll get basketball going again. But we've got a whole lot of things going. If you want to get the Wolverine Magazine, call 800-421-7751, and you can get set up with a subscription. And also visit us daily. We have breaking news every day on thewolverine.com.
All right, John, thanks for joining us again. We'll see you next Thursday.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right.
Let's talk sports. 96.5 The Cave.
And welcome back inside the cave this morning on this Thursday, about 10 minutes before the hour. And as we promised, on the line this morning, we have head basketball coach Kyle Lindsay from the Adrian College Bulldogs. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Morning, Coach.
Good morning.
So, you take on Albion last night, second of 3 games. You'll get them. You might get them in the tournament later. Who knows? But I was there, and so was your opponent's star player, one of the best in the conference. And really, the difference in the game, looking through your stats, you were pretty comparable, except for Caden Ebeling for Albion. You got out rebounded. He had a lot of second chance opportunities. So all that being said, it was an 81-70 loss, but a vast improvement from the last time you played Albion.
Yeah, Caden's a really special player, and as a coach, you always appreciate when you see a kid how they, whether it's for you or you always hope it's for you, but even the guys on the other teams too, how far that kid has come along and developed as a player is pretty unique. I don't know, since I've been coaching that I've seen a kid that can that understands angles and really knows how to play in the post as well as he can. So a tribute to him and also what he seems to do in the off season and getting stronger each summer. I think is it's something that should be inspiring to many players. So he's definitely played the load. He had a great game against us last night. I think we could have done a little bit more in the way of executing our game plan. For whatever reason, we just didn't. We have to have some extra effort from our guys down low to keep him off the board. That just a couple things that were lacking last night, but our group is resilient. We're going to stay together. Something we talked about today is that we get to play them again, and so hopefully we'll just keep getting a little bit better and a little bit better.
Coach, you had 4 players in double figures. You gotta like that. You had Warwick with 12, Bellamy 15, Sheffy with 14 off the bench, and Connor Pelham has sort of become a go-to guy for you to get some points. He had 17 to lead your team. Are you starting to figure out how these guys are working together?
Yeah, they're starting to figure some things out at the offensive end, most definitely. Connor, especially this last week, has really come on. Obviously, you see the stats, and from a production standpoint, he's performing really well for us, probably as well as he's ever had. But on top of that, he's been a tremendous leader for our team, and lately he's Mr. Consistency when it comes to the effort, leadership, production, and I think that comes with being a senior and upperclassman. So really proud of him and his effort, his work ethic. No one outworks Connor. So tremendous young man. We got Rob and Kendall pretty consistent with their production. And then Victor gives us another guy that can make some plays and put the ball in the basket. He's just he's a really smart player. So,
Coach, looking at your starting lineup, we see number 20 Gabe McDivitt. Of course, the McDivitt name been around Lenawee County for a long time, and I am assuming that Gabe is a grandson of a longtime coach at Adrian, Pat McDivitt.
That is Pat's grandson, and as you can expect, Gabe is a basketball player. So he's a gym rat. He's really skilled. He understands the game of basketball, and he's really, for a freshman, he's so fearless. He just plays without fear, which is pretty uncommon. I think the future is very bright for Gabe.
Well, of course, his father played, I believe, for Adrian High School and played under his father, Pat McDivitt. So good to see a local product in the starting lineup for the Bulldogs.
It is. Even though he's listed they live in Colorado now, but I thought it was I was glad he chose Adrian because I thought it was a neat opportunity for him, having family in this area, having that history in the McDevitt name. I'm glad it worked out that Gabe chose Adrian.
We're sadly approaching the time here, Coach, but I kind of want to get your initial reaction. We talked to Coach Morris from the women's program in the 7 o'clock hour, and it was news to me. I hadn't been checking social media since I left work last night, but no Division III tournaments for Division III for the winter sports. Your club obviously made it last year. What was your initial reaction to that, if you have one, and what's the message for your team moving forward?
Well, my initial reaction was, we are still the defending MIAA representatives.
I like it.
So we'll hang on to that one for another year. But, I think this year, I'm not surprised, and it's just, you quickly just think of the positive. We still have an MIAA tournament to compete in. We still have tomorrow's practice to get better. There's so much this year that's out of our control. So, in order just to weather those storms, you just keep pushing forward. You just keep trying to find ways to improve and get better as a team. And, that's been our focus. So anytime we get hit, with this adversity, we just try to keep it simple and pushing forward.
Kyle, we are out of time here. We want to thank you for being with us this morning. Best of luck the rest of the way.
All right, you guys, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Kyle, Lindsay, that's going to wrap things up here for us this morning on this Thursday. Wow, what a fast morning. Ian, thanks very much. Great job today.
Hey, right back at you, Pat.
All right, we'll see you again on Sunday from ZZ's. You're inside the cave.
Well, they
Whoa.
did. Switched to home.